of those on that Iranian ship off their coast. So Sri Lanka playing quite a dangerous game when it comes to entering into this entire theatre of war, given the fact that the top opposition MPs inside Sri Lanka have said that they don't want anything to do with this conflict. But the movement of a second Iranian naval vessel in our backyard, Akanksha, it also rings alarm bells, not just for Sri Lanka, which is playing footsie with this entire conflict, but raises alarm for the entire defense and intelligence infrastructure here in India.
Absolutely. In fact, thank you for sharing all of those inputs. Let's quickly toss back to Griha over there.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for that. We have a very important guest now joining us on the broadcast. Captain Ashish Kumar from Bihar now joins us. He is one of the persons in fact, one of the kin of one of the sailors who's been killed in an attack on an oil tanker Skylight in the Gulf of Oman. So, Captain Ashish Kumar, बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. आपके जो रिश्तेदार थे, जो स्काईलाइट पे थे, जो वेसल जिसको अटैक किया था इरानियन मिसाइल्स ने वहाँ पे स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में, कोई भी जानकारी गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, क्योंकि ये ओमानियन वेसल था, किस तरह से आपको ये जानकारी मिली है अब जाके, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया भी ये फिगर्स रिलीज कर रही है कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली 2 सेलर्स जो इंडियन सेलर्स हैं उनकी जान जा चुकी है.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैम, आप लोगों को थैंक यू, आप लोगों को मीडिया ने हमें रीच किया इस न्यूज़ के लिए. सेकेंडली, हमें संडे के दिन न्यूज़ जैसे फ्लैश हो रहा था वैसे हमें न्यूज़ फ्लैश में दिखा कि ओमान, गल्फ ऑफ ओमान में जो वेसल्स है वहाँ पे अटैक हो रहे हैं और बहुत सारे वेसल्स पे अटैक हुए हैं. हमें कोई कंफर्मेशन नहीं था कि जिसमें मेरे भैया एज अ कैप्टन आशीष कुमार जी सर्विंग कर रहे थे उस भी वेसल पे अटैक हुआ है. बट हमने नेट पे काफ़ी सर्च किया, काफ़ी इंटरनेट वगैरह सर्चिंग किए हैं, न्यूज़ वगैरह पे काफ़ी देखे हुए, बट कोई कंफर्मेशन नहीं आ रहा था. बाई इवनिंग ऑन संडे स्काईलाइट की तरफ से एक स्पोक्स पर्सन ने हमें बताया कि जिस पे कैप्टन आशीष कुमार थे स्काईलाइट पे, उसी पे अटैक हुआ है. और फिर उसके बाद जैसे हमें ये न्यूज़ मिला, फिर हमने डायरेक्टली रीच आउट किया इंडियन एम्बेसी को, और ओमान में भी हमने रीच किया थ्रू द ईमेल्स एंड ऑल द वेरियस चैनल्स. आफ्टर दैट मैम, हमें ये कंफर्मेशन हो ही नहीं रहा था कि उसी शिप पे है. और उसके बाद से मैम सारे क्रू मेंबर्स का रेस्क्यू हो रहा था, कुछ हो रहा था, कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन क्लियर नहीं आ पा रही थी.
जी शुभम जी, बहुत ही अनफॉर्चुनेट डेवलपमेंट्स हैं, आप सही बात कर रहे हैं. और ये जो अटैक हुआ है ओमानियन वेसल पे, ये सबसे पहला अटैक था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में जो रिपोर्ट किया गया. अनफॉर्चुनेट बहुत ज़्यादा है कि आपके भाई उस वेसल पे थे, कैप्टन आशीष कुमार. हम उनकी तस्वीरें भी अभी साझा कर रहे हैं अपने व्यूअर्स के साथ. लेकिन अब जाके जितने भी सी फेयरर्स हैं, जो भी सेलर्स इंडियन वेसल्स पे वहाँ पे स्ट्रैंडेड हैं स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में, वो सब दरख्वास्त कर रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से कि किसी तरह से उनको वापस भारत लेके, हिंदुस्तान लेके आया जाए. उसके बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे?
मैम, सबसे पहले तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स इस चीज़ में काफ़ी इस चीज़ को फायर ऑफ द लाइट देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये सिचुएशन एक मेरी ही फैमिली के लिए नहीं, इंडिया के सारी फैमिली के लिए है, जिसके फैमिली मेम्बर्स वहाँ पे फंसे हैं, जो सेलर्स है, जो सी फेयर्स है, जो अदर एक्टिविटी में वर्किंग है वहाँ पे. तो इस पे गवर्नमेंट को और मोदी जी को स्पेशली इस चीज़ का देखना चाहिए. सेकेंडली मैम, मैं ये कंफर्म करता हूँ कि अभी तक कोई ऐसा ऑफिशियल नहीं है. डीजी शिपिंग की तरफ से हमें ये कंफर्मेशन मिला है कि मास्टर के कैबिन से हमें स्केलेटन मिला है, बट वो भी अभी कंफर्म नहीं है कि वो स्केलेटन कैप्टन आशीष का ही है या किसी और.
जी शुभम, हम जान सकते हैं बहुत ही ज़्यादा दुखद समय है और अभी तक आप बहुत सारे सवालों के जवाब चाह रहे होंगे जिस तरह की बातें आप बता रहे हैं, क्योंकि एक अटैक हुआ है और कितना ही मैसिव अटैक होगा. तो स्केलेटल रिमेन्स की बात कर रही है सरकार और जो वहाँ पे अथॉरिटीज़ हैं वो आपसे. इसके बारे में सुनना ही बहुत तकलीफ देह है. लेकिन क्या बताते थे कैप्टन आशीष कुमार अपनी लाइफ के बारे में, किस तरह से वो ट्रैवल होता था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज से, कितने दिन लगते थे, उसके बारे में अगर कुछ आप बताना चाहें हमें तो.
नो मैम, उसके बारे में तो मतलब भैया से उतना इंटरेक्शन नहीं होता था, क्योंकि वो ज़्यादा वर्किंग पे रहता था और उसका टाइप शिफ्ट वगैरह थोड़ा डिफरेंट था. तो काफ़ी कम ही मेरा और भैया का कम्युनिकेशन हो पाता था।
जी
बाकी फैमिली मेंबर से होता था, तो फैमिली मैटर्स पे ज़्यादा बात होता था, वर्किंग का थोड़ा कम ही
जी
बात होता था।
कितने
इस
टाइम से वो थे जुड़े हुए स्काईलाइट के साथ?
मैम स्काईलाइट पे तो वो अभी जनवरी में गए थे।
और उसके पहले यहाँ हिंदुस्तान में ही काम कर रहे थे या फिर किसी और
नो
वेसल के
मैम,
साथ
नो,
एसोसिएटेड थे?
किसी और मिक्सर के साथ मैम वर्किंग था। मोर देन 16 इयर्स का उसका एक्सपीरियंस था सी फेयर्स में।
जी शुभम जी, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। माफ़ी चाहूँगी, इतना कुछ हो गया है,
एक
लेकिन ये
रिक्वेस्ट है
डेवलपमेंट्स ही है।
मुझसे,
जी जी ज़रूर बताइए।
मैम एक रिक्वेस्ट है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से, जयशंकर सर से, मोदी जी से। जैसे मोदी जी सबके लिए करते हैं, वैसे मेरे भाई के लिए भी करें, और मेरे भाई के जगह सारे जो इंडियन फंसे हैं उनके लिए करें। और प्लीज इस मैटर को हमें कंफर्म करें, क्लियर करें क्या है, क्या सच्चाई है, कितने दिन में हमें इस चीज की कंफर्मेशन मिलेगा मेरे भाई के लिए।
जी शुभम,
मैम
हम आपके ज़रिए गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से ये रिक्वेस्ट ज़रूर आपकी सामने रखेंगे, बिकॉज वी डू अंडरस्टैंड दैट अ लॉट ऑफ फैमिलीज आर अनश्योर बिकॉज of the seafarers, Indian seafarers who are right now struck in the Strait of Hormuz because of the impasse that continues, because of the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz that continues. We are right now heading into some breaking news on the broadcast. Shubham ji, बहुत शुक्रिया आपके साथ बातें करने के लिए. We in fact have this piece of breaking news.
Massive destruction, visuals of massive destruction that's occurred after the US-Israeli strike that took place at a stadium in Tehran, and aftermath following overnight strikes that have also taken place in Beirut. This is in fact being brought to us. If you can see, this seems like a midnight strike that actually is going on to also indicate the kind of destruction that has taken place. This location is in Tehran. The place has been completely reduced to a rubble, what seems like in fact a densely populated residential locality in Tehran. These were of course conducted by the Israeli strikes overnight, and at the same time what we can tell you over here is that this is a location in the suburbs of Beirut. The entire residential locality has been reduced to a heap of rubble, as you can see over here. This was a post-midnight strike. The rescue operations are on. The casualties are massive. The death toll also is increasing. As you can see, the complete front facades of the buildings have been razed. These are rescue workers who are now trying to dig out the dead out of the rubble, but these are post-midnight strikes that were conducted by Israel, and of course we know that they have targeted Beirut's suburbs over here. Important to highlight why Beirut currently is also being targeted. We know that at the moment Hezbollah is very much located in Lebanon, and so this is why Lebanon also continues to bear the brunt of this. Let me quickly go across to Sushant and Yada, who continue to stay with us. Sushant, do you think that these strikes will be able to ensure the end of Hezbollah at the moment? Because this is one mess that the world has been dealing with for decades, and yet there seems to be no end to it.
Akansha, unfortunately, I don't think so, because look, Hezbollah has been severely degraded anyways, as have most other terrorist organizations. But these organizations, given the kind of ideology they espouse, the kind of millenarian mindset they have, they do regenerate in one form or another, regardless of whether next time they'll be looking to Iran for support or somebody else. This problem is likely to persist, but it becomes a lot more manageable than what it used to be. I, however, think that, earlier we were discussing this and we were told that Iran is all set to capitulate because their missile and their other arsenal is being severely degraded and is about to go out of the equation. That might well happen. I don't know how quickly, but let us assume it happens tomorrow. What after that? How do you ensure regime change? Are you going to bomb the entire Iran into rubble? How does even that ensure regime change? In the last 2.5 years, of bombing Gaza, you still haven't gotten rid of Hamas in that area.
True.
You know, somebody still has to go in out there, take control, disarm Hamas. And we're talking about just a small strip of land called Gaza. If you now extrapolate from there to Iran, where you have an entrenched and reasonably popular, at least they have a 20, 30, 40% support base, a regime out there, how do you then replace it? How do you bring in
You've
people?
hit a very key critical point. Yara, mind weighing in on that aspect, that will a regime change be able to ensure the end of Hamas or even Hezbollah and the Houthis?
The day, what you need is a transitional government. And the United States is also putting boots on the ground, because it's very clear that you cannot win this with aerial strikes alone. This is why Donald Trump has announced that they are putting boots on the ground in Iran. They need those boots on the ground to continue to demilitarize large aspects of that regime and radical fragments that are still left. Having a minority, that may support this regime, in the figure of 20%, can be manageable if they have the right transitional government in place. And of course, new leadership is going to have to go in place at some point. The question is, who's going to be the head of that transitional government? Is it going to be Reza, the prince from Iran? Is it going to be someone else? The truth is, Reza is an incredible and motivational figure, and I think it'd be wonderful to see him in that role, but he doesn't have the ruling experience for a transition. So there's definitely going to be a council of some sort that needs to be put in place. There's many positions to fill, but the Iranian people, the majority of them, I believe the last number I saw was close to 70%, certainly are in support of a completely new government. But that is why the United States has had to put boots on the ground, because there's no way to finish this in a short period of time without boots on the ground.
But
There's
Sushant, more than United States, let's talk about Israel. We already know that Hezbollah, particularly Lebanon, and the kind of pounding that Lebanon is right now receiving on part of Israel is because it forms one line of defense for Iran, and vice versa. If Iran goes on to attack Israel, it gives that extra heft to Iran, and that's why Israelis are going after Beirut and the Hezbollah infra particularly. But where does it leave the people of Lebanon? Are they going to consolidate when it is about this moment, or we will see a squandering like the one we saw way back in 2006?
Look, in Lebanon, Hezbollah has always been a problem, and it's become part of the system in some ways. We've heard the Lebanese authorities say that they are going to clamp down on the Hezbollah, but they haven't been able to do it. This is despite the fact that Hezbollah has been seriously degraded over the last 1-2 years. Secondly, let me just come, frankly, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but I think I have a better chance to rule Iran, and I'll be more acceptable than Reza Pahlavi. I don't know where they have suddenly come up with Reza Pahlavi. He's a non-entity. He's a fly-by-night operator of the kind they had in Iraq, Ahmad Shalabi, who nobody knew, but he had somehow managed to convince the American administration that he is going to be the go-to guy as far as Iraq is concerned. And that entire venture completely collapsed. The point is that, to say that we will put boots on the ground, how many boots on the ground are you going to put in a country like Iran? How many? It's a huge country. It's far bigger than what Iraq was. The terrain is very different. The ideology of the people is very different. The way they've been brought up is very different. How many people are you going to put in? How long are you going to stay out there? Donald Trump has also said that he's not interested in endless wars. Who all are you going to take in? Are you going to take in the Arabs into Iranian country? And if you take Arabs out there, do you understand the history of that place? The conflict between the Arabs and the Iranians, or between the Shias and the Sunnis?
Right, absolutely. An important point that Sushant Sareen is making, and after all, if we take a look at his predecessor, and we're talking about Reza Pahlavi, Shah of Iran did no good to Iran either. But we do have some piece of breaking news that we have to put out. Akanksha.
Massive explosions, in fact, being reported in Doha yet again, as we were reporting earlier as well. We shared those details with you. The Qatari capital actually continues to bear the brunt as fresh explosions have been hurt. Is this a result of a barrage of missiles? We are yet to ascertain that, but what we can tell you is Doha is back on the target. In fact, CNN gets you the latest on the ground situation from there.
All right. We are coming to you, of course, from our Middle East programming headquarters here in the Gulf, in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE. I'm Becky Anderson, and I want to stay in the Gulf. I've just got a statement just released from Qatar confirming their air defense systems. They're intercepting a missile attack. This is day 6, of course, March the 5th. It is 12:30 in the afternoon there in Qatar. Let's bring in CNN senior producer Bijan Hosseini joining us live. Bish, what can you tell us at this point?
Hey, Becky. Yeah, we've just changed locations. We're actually underneath in a safe place now, but we've been experiencing just maybe 2 minutes ago another wave, the 4th wave that we've experienced in quick succession. These sounding very loud. We've seen some of the smoke trails of these interceptions taking place right above us. We're in central West Bay right now. At least from our perspective, the team, we've been live in this location every day for 6 days. These are by far the loudest and longest series of interceptions we've experienced. That has been happening on and off every 2 minutes. As you said, the Ministry of Defense just came out with that statement 5 minutes ago saying that they are under a missile attack. We believe most of these have been intercepted. We can see the smoke trails from the interceptions that take place above us. But I wanted to, it's worth mentioning that last night we got an alert from the Ministry of Interior. They were asking and telling residents to evacuate near the U.S. Embassy. We had a CNN staff member that got a knock on their door at 3 o'clock in the morning from police asking them to evacuate their home. They are only 4 kilometers away from the U.S. Embassy. They were able to return to their home after about 2 hours. The police saying that they obviously were outside that perimeter that police have set up, and that was just as a safety precaution. As of last night, we didn't hear or see any interceptions taking place near that embassy, neither the people near the embassy, but clearly now an onslaught of attacks coming from Iran.
It's important to point out that you are seeing an uptick there. I mean, that's really significant. And if these are missiles, that is really significant because, of course, we heard from the Pentagon yesterday that the throttling up in these US-Israel strikes are on Iranian missile systems, launchers, stockpiles. Those are being very much directed at this region of the Gulf. We have seen less ballistic missile or cruise missiles incoming here to Abu Dhabi, Bijan, but overnight helicopters and fighter jets taking out drone attacks. So we continue to see these swarming drones. The sense was that we were seeing less ballistic missiles certainly on this region. But if we are right to suggest, and it's certainly what this statement that I've just received from Doha suggests, that these are missile attacks, and that is clearly worrying that the Iranians still have the capability to do that. Bijan is in Doha.
All right, we continue to talk about these strikes, not just on Doha, but also Azerbaijan. These reports coming in, and we are tracking those as we go into a very short break.
Devastation, a direct hit by a missile.
Picture is that the U.S. is not able to defend.
Of a drone, a massive, the number of ballistic missiles.
Where is it that Iran is actually placing its resources right now?
Tabriz, Sanandaj, Kermanshah. And this is now what they are doing since yesterday. They are conducting more or less organized.
This is our network phone. We've got some more images here. We've got another image of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Manama Bar.
Over Oman, Saudi Arabia, and this way to Europe.
Iran now has been completely, in some ways, dominated.
With ballistic missile attack. It means the Kuwaiti air defense was under big strain.
A man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks long research and digging to the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
2 missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Noor Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
That is one of the most amazing. It is one of the most amazing thing about this. When one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Noor Khan. So, and that at the time, the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear.
Welcome back. CNN News 18 is the only channel which continues to bring you ground reports from Israel. In fact, 2 power centers in Israel. We have Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Ground reports awaiting your attention.
मैं इस वक्त टेल अवीव में हूँ। करीब 3 बजे हैं रात के। अभी 2:30 बजे भी सायरन बजी थी। आप सुनिए। तो आप सुन सकते हैं लोग जो है शेल्टर की तरफ भाग रहे हैं। रात के 3 बजे हैं करीब इस वक्त टेल अवीव में, और सायरन्स लगातार बज रही हैं। उसका मतलब है कि ईरान की तरफ से मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किया गया है, और अब देखना होगा कि क्या उस मिसाइल अटैक को इंटरसेप्ट किया जाएगा या वो मिसाइल्स या रॉकेट्स जो हैं ईरान के वो कहीं पे हिट करेंगे। अभी थोड़ी देर पहले जो है यहाँ पे एक मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किया गया था। ये जो आप देख रहे हैं चांद के साथ में थोड़ा सा स्मोक देख रहे हैं और ये लाइट जैसी देख रहे हैं स्काई में, ये उसी इंटरसेप्शन के बाद यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है। यानी इसी आसमान में जो है अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मिसाइल्स को इंटरसेप्ट किया गया। ये धुआं आगे बढ़ रहा है, ये आसमान में है, ये टेल अवीव की स्काइज हैं और लगातार ये स्काइज जो हैं ये यहाँ पे बयां कर रही हैं यहाँ की कहानी। एक के बाद एक मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किए जा, आप सुन सकते हैं जोरदार धमाका हुआ, यहीं कहीं पे इंटरसेप्ट हुआ है। अभी हो सकता है कि आसमान में कुछ दिखे। तो अभी होम फ्रंट कमांड की तरफ से कहा गया है कि खतरा टल चुका है क्योंकि मिसाइल्स जो हैं वो इंटरसेप्ट किए गए हैं और मैं दिखाने की कोशिश करूंगा कि अब लोग जो हैं वो शेल्टर से बाहर आ रहे हैं जहां पे वो छुपे थे। तो ये आप देख सकते हैं ये लोग जो हैं अब बाहर आ रहे हैं शेल्टर से। ये शेल्टर्स में थे क्योंकि साइरन्स बजी थी पूरे टेल अवीव में और उसके बाद लोग सेफ शेल्टर की तरफ जा रहे थे। अब वो वहाँ से बाहर आ रहे हैं। ये यहाँ पे जगह जगह पे शेल्टर बनाए गए हैं, जितने भी होटल्स हैं। बेसमेंट में भी बॉम्ब शेल्टर्स हैं और बाकी जो लेवल्स होती हैं होटल की, हर लेवल पे बॉम्ब शेल्टर है। तो ये सिलसिला लगातार यहाँ पर इसराइल में जारी है। बार बार सायरन बजती हैं, बार बार आसमान में धमाके होते हैं। कई मिसाइल्स जो हैं वो हिट कर गए हैं, बिल्डिंग्स को नुकसान पहुंचा है। अभी तक जो यहाँ ऑफिशियल फिगर्स हैं 12 लोगों की अभी तक मौत हुई है, कई लोग जख्मी हुए हैं, प्रॉपर्टी को डैमेज हुआ है और ये सिलसिला अभी रुकता हुआ नजर नहीं आ रहा है।
इसराइल में अभी सायरन्स बज रही हैं, उसका मतलब है कि ईरान से मिसाइल लॉन्च किए गए हैं। आप सुन सकते हैं आवाज। तो मैं इस वक्त टेल अवीव में हूं और हर साइड से सायरन्स बज रही हैं और लोग अंदर शेल्टर की तरफ जा रहे हैं और मैं भी अब शेल्टर की तरफ जाने की कोशिश करूंगा क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कि अभी भी यहाँ पे जो है ये सिलसिला नहीं रुक रहा है। लगातार कोशिश की जा रही है ईरान की तरफ से इसराइल को टारगेट करने की। एक के बाद एक जो है मिसाइल्स और रॉकेट्स फेंके जा रहे हैं। जेरूसलम में भी कई आज हमले किए गए, हालांकि काफ़ी सारे मिसाइल्स जो हैं वो इंटरसेप्ट किए जाते हैं एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम के ज़रिए, जो हवा में ही नाकारा हो जाते हैं, लेकिन काफ़ी सारे जो है वो हिट कर रहे हैं टारगेट को। और सुन सकते हैं आप, तो यहाँ आप नहीं देखेंगे लोगों की मूवमेंट क्योंकि लोग जो हैं अंदर जा रहे हैं शेल्टर की तरफ। तो हम भी कोशिश करेंगे आगे अंदर शेल्टर की तरफ जाने की।
All right, we are outside the newsroom. With me is my colleague Ayushman. He has got some more updates. We're constantly bringing you those updates from two of our reporters in fact, the war zone that is in Israel. That report was by Rifat from Tel Aviv. Ayushman has more. Ayushman, what are you?
We're getting more updates about how we've been talking about the ambit of this entire conflict is only expanding. Now we saw those Iranian drones target the UK base in Cyprus, and now that alarm has spread across Europe, where now Italy is sending naval assets to Cyprus. One of the key strategic bases for the European powers is Cyprus. And now the fact that Iran's drones, the Shahid drones that we've been seeing bombard the energy infrastructure as well as the bases across the entire theater of war, and now hitting countries like Azerbaijan, they already hit Cyprus, and now this has spread alarm across Europe as well, which is scrambling its own defense assets to protect those bases as well as the crucial energy infrastructure. So it seems that while the ambit is slowly growing, the alarm is now global.
Since you mentioned Cyprus, and it has been the talk of the town that will this bring UK into the war? And we already saw that UK warship pretty much in the Mediterranean waters since yesterday. Now Italy's given a nod. Are we seeing this expand into something beyond just West Asia?
Absolutely. It's because of the fact that Iran, even though its jets are being depleted, even though its missiles are being depleted, as I was pointing out, the reports suggest Iran can produce these mini drones, the Shahid drones, 10,000 drones can be produced in a single month. So if those, and we've seen how those Shahid drones have crippled several bases, they've crippled the energy infrastructure, they've sent alarm across the defense and energy circles. So if the range of these drones from Iran can go to Azerbaijan, they can hit pretty much any city across that entire region. So military bases, the Western military bases and their strategic assets in the region, the bullseye is right on them from Iran, because Iran can just mount these drones on a truck, take it to the edge of the border and launch it all the way to Azerbaijan and Cyprus. That capability is still with the Iranian forces.
Is that why did we see that, dialing of Zelensky? He, in fact, has put out that tweet as well. Ukraine has bore the brunt as far as the entire Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. Now, Washington dialing Ukraine, these developments for assisting on these very Shahid drones, that's something that we also must talk about, Aisha.
Absolutely, because Zelensky has used these drones against the Russian forces. And this is something that has been effective in Kiev's war effort against Russia. But now I think Ukraine's expertise is required when it comes to countering these drones coming in from Iran. But what more can Zelensky do? I mean, he himself knows how these drones operate. The United States, of course, knows how these drones operate. The fact is that these aren't that technologically advanced. These are easy to make. It's similar to how Hezbollah uses those homemade rockets that it launches into Israel on a daily basis. It's very easy to make these, and every home in pretty much in Lebanon has the facilities to make those rockets. How do you tackle this defense threat coming in from Iran, where something so effective can be so easily produced across that country?
Right, and Ayushman, we were just talking about how this is further expanding into something beyond West Asia. Right now, reports coming in that France is now going to be allowing U.S. to use its bases. How big do you think this development is going to be?
I think while the European allies are trying to hold out from the entire conflict before getting in, because we heard Pedro Sanchez as well from Spain saying that they will not be dragged into a new war, it seems that slowly and steadily, as Iran is raising the cost of this conflict, attacking the energy markets, and remember there is a cost of living crisis in all these European countries, they are facing the pinch of these rising energy prices and this unpredictability in the commodities market, which is why slowly and steadily I feel all the European allies are going to be dragged into this entire conflict. While Iran aims that the continuous attacks that are coming in from its drone strikes will push these allies to put pressure on the United States, the opposite might happen, where these allies will now back the United States into putting more pressure on Iran.
Right, Ayushman, thank you so much. So this West Asian conflict is only expanding, and that is what would be a cause of concern for many of the nations who are watching. Ayushman was just mentioning about how the energy infra seems to have been badly impacted, and because of which we see more and more countries really stepping in. We are constantly giving you every update that is there as far as this escalation really is concerned. But right now, we also are getting some breaking news. This is a mega exclusive that we are putting out for our viewers as we are learning that alleged ISIS commanders met with Pakistan President Mr. Zardari. We are talking about the Daesh commander joining Pakistan's People's Party, and CNN News 18 has in fact got this exclusive information of the entire nexus that one is talking about when it is about the Pakistan president meeting with the commander there. My colleague Akanksha here in the studios with more of that information. Yes, Akanksha,
right.
do go ahead.
So, Griha, we can see that this is in fact exposing the overall ISI-Daesh nexus, and Shafiq Mengel's death squad in October last year was in fact responsible. Who's Shafiq Mengel? I also want to inform our viewers about him. He's collaborating with LET. You're also looking at his collaboration with JEM, other terror groups with full supervision of Pakistan, ISI and their own intelligence agencies. Shafiq Mengel has reportedly been tasked with overseeing a covert operational framework that is going to consolidate the overall extremist activities of the Jaish. the ISIS, the LET, and all of them then will be brought together under a single umbrella. What will they be tasked with in Balochistan? For suppressing Baloch Liberation Army's activities, the nationalists as well. According to sources, Shafiq Mengal now has been awarded with a political cover in the province. That is something we all know is not new to the polity of Pakistan. He has also joined Pakistan People's Party, which, as we all know, is the leading party that has a government in the Balochistan province. He's in fact known as a tribal leader. He's responsible for arranging safe houses and training camps across the province. He's also recruiting operatives through religious seminaries and underground cells. So, Griha, these are the latest inputs that we are bringing to you, brought to us by investigations editor Manoj Gupta.
Right, absolutely a big development there that's coming in from the subcontinent as well. And on that note, we have to get into a very quick break. So we're going into that. News and updates continue on CNN News 18.
Super exclusive ground report by CNN News 18 Sanjay Suri from Tel Aviv. Rifat Abdullah, who's currently stationed in Jerusalem.
Well, here goes the siren again. A ballistic missile detected on its way here. Probably a good time to step into a shelter.
अभी जो यहाँ पे सायरन बजी है उसके बाद धमाके जोरदार हुए या तो इंटरसेप्ट किया गया मिसाइल्स को जो लगातार ईरान की तरफ से अटैक किया जा रहा
Man who along with his co-authors meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks long research and digging to the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So, first up, the India strike on Pakistan as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
2 missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Noor Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
That is
SAMs,
one of the
that's
most
what you're saying.
amazing. It
Yeah.
is one of the most amazing thing about this. When one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians, like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nurkan. So, and that at the time,
Yeah.
the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Shivani Gupta. Let's begin with a quick check of the latest war headlines that we're tracking. Iran strikes Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan with drones. Baku says attacks launched from Iranian territory hits airport area and injures 2. Iranian ballistic missiles target Doha as drone swarms hit civilian areas across Qatar. The nation's air defenses scramble to bring down the barrage. Reports suggest a second Iranian vessel is now stranded near Sri Lanka's Panadura coast. Iran's embassy seeks emergency docking for food and water. Unverified reports say children on board. 37 Indian ships, 1,100 crew stuck near the Strait of Hormuz. 3 Indian seafarers already killed as West Asia conflict disrupts shipping in the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. Vladimir Putin warns Russia could halt gas supplies to European Union markets, shift energy exports to more profitable buyers amidst the global energy shock. China sends special envoy to Middle East to mediate as Iran-Israel U.S. conflict escalates, urging protection of civilians, dialogue and stability. A high-stakes war in West Asia enters its 6th day, billions already spent and no clear end in sight. As casualties mount, global trade is disrupted by the closure of Strait of Hormuz. Iran has begun reaching out to neighboring countries, claiming it was compelled to act following the assassination of its supreme leader. The U.S. has escalated its own campaign, deploying advanced weaponry, including F-35C fighter jets and waves of Tomahawk missiles in strikes that have severely weakened Iran's naval capabilities. Meanwhile, surging oil prices are stoking global economic anxiety, with India urgently exploring alternative energy routes to shield its economy. We're getting some more breaking updates now coming in. Consecutive explosions have been heard western Tehran, near the Azadi Stadium. Let's go across to my colleague Akansha, who's also joining us with more on this. This is a stadium now, the Azadi Stadium in the middle of Tehran, that has also possibly come under the strikes, isn't it, Akansha? What more do we know?
Right. And this barrage, in fact, continues to particularly target Tehran, as we've seen that there are schools being targeted over there, even civilian locations apart from the IRGC headquarters. So Tehran particularly is on the target as far as the IDF strikes are concerned. And Shivani, we must remember that the death toll in Iran has already crossed 1,000. The number of children is already crossing 200 as we speak. But Tehran particularly is now being brought down to a heap of rubble, and that particularly remains a concern for, of course, the Iranian regime at the moment. But more breaking inputs coming in. They are already indicating that Iran may perhaps now be willing to give up on its nuclear program. Is the United States going to even entertain that?
Back, Akansha, you can hold this. A short while back we heard this, but you know, this is now again bringing into question whether Iran was earlier willing to give it up or not? Because they were saying, and some international experts were saying that yes, Iran had already indicated they'll give up their nuclear program. So why did America act? If they're giving this as a condition now, it means they weren't agreeing earlier.
So, the counter to that coming in from Iran is that perhaps talks were never on the table for the United States and for Israel, because remember, first of all, Israel was not part of the talks, but secondly, US was. And the fact of the matter is that they have said that we had already indicated we will be cooperating with Israel, we will be cooperating with the United States. We had even, in fact, given assurances that the United States is not going to be targeted, neither will Israel. And yet they went ahead with that attack, which perhaps is placing the overall scope of negotiations in a very tricky terrain. Shivani, if negotiations are at all going to be on the
Well,
table.
Donald Trump has already said he's not going to negotiate anymore. So where does that take us? Where does that leave us? We'll wait and see. In all probability, America and Israel want any possibilities of an Iranian, resurgence to be completely condemned, and then they might negotiate with whoever is left. We've got more breaking updates coming in. All right, we are getting more updates from Sri Lanka now. Iranian ship has requested them for some urgent docking, and they are considering this request. Remember, this is a second Iranian ship which is close to the Sri Lankan coast after one frigate was already downed yesterday. So Sri Lanka has accepted that this request is under consideration with them. It is pending with them. This is going to be a bit of a hot potato, a catch-22 for the Sri Lankans, Akansha?
Absolutely, because we've seen how the US submarine actually torpedoed the other one, IRNIS Dana, and for which this is in fact a blatant violation of the Geneva Convention. They should have ensured that they rescue all who were there on that warship, whereas that submarine actually departed, leaving Sri Lanka to actually jump to the rescue of those 80 bodies that have in fact been rescued. And now with tensions escalating further, there is the same level of risk which is in fact now plaguing this second warship. What happens to this second warship? Will Sri Lanka be entertaining that request? Since we've been highlighting constantly that from the Strait of Hormuz, we are seeing the spillover of this conflict now to the IOR, which is the Indian Ocean region. Shivani.
Absolutely. Well, difficult decision making really as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. India is the biggest country as far as the Indian Ocean is concerned. So a lot of what happens here is going to affect India as well. And India might want a say finally in what happens as far as this situation is concerned. Maybe Sri Lanka might even take an opinion from India, because ultimately India is the biggest nation as far as the Indian subcontinent is concerned, and might have more to consider on this. Let's also take you through some of these visuals that we've got. These are all satellite images that have been accessed via various sources. This is the Konarak naval base in Iran, and it is showing you the extent of the damage that has been caused by the Americans and the Israeli strikes. Remember, Donald Trump had already announced, I think more than 24 hours ago, that all of their naval capabilities, all of Iranian naval capabilities have been destroyed. They had about 11 ships. They have been destroyed. And then, of course, was this frigate in Indian waters as well. This is the Khorramabad missile complex. You can see the before and after. That makes clear exactly what transpired. So the main structure possibly is this one to take notice of. But you can see these are the before pictures. And in the aftermath, you can see that those structures are not as coherent as they were. There seems to be more rubble than anything else. Iranian Air Force headquarters, this also is showing some damage. These are multiple buildings, a huge complex, but it seems that there has been a strike, at least on some areas, possibly here as well. That's the before picture, and this is the one after. You can see this roof particularly, and this building particularly as well. There are clear marks of precision strikes, precision airstrikes, because they've just mounted some holes on the roof of the building and you can't see much other destruction. Similarly, this is the Garamdara missile base. You can see the before and after. In the after, you can clearly see holes on top of the building structure and also black soot, possibly because of fire and other instances. This is just going to give you an indication of the kind of precision strikes that Israel and America are doing. They're not targeting civilian areas. They're only targeting the missile bases and the air and the naval bases. Let's also go across to some more breaking updates now coming in. At least 6 people have been injured in Abu Dhabi because of debris that has fallen from intercepted drone strikes. All right, we're getting more breaking updates that have come in. 6 people have been injured because of the interceptions itself. So remember, these are very dangerous times for the public. This is happening in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi. 6 people injured, more injuries coming in as far as these very prosperous and forward-looking Gulf nations are concerned. This is not going to go down well.
It's interesting that you emphasize on forward-looking Gulf nations, and now they're bearing the brunt of this war, Shivani, because if you look at the last 24 hours, there's in fact been renewed attention now on all of those U.S. allied countries in Middle East, which were bearing the brunt right in the beginning. So on day 1, day 2, day 3 of the conflict, we saw Abu Dhabi, we saw UAE, we saw Qatar. All of these 3 countries were bearing the brunt of it, and then there was a tapering of the tensions. But today, the news that we are bringing to you, as Shivani was just highlighting, 6 people, in fact, already being targeted over there in Abu Dhabi. Goes on to say that there's now a renewed escalation in these explosions, in the missile attacks targeting particularly UAE, where you are looking at Dubai and even Abu Dhabi. In the last, say, 48 hours, we had seen that the tensions were tapering down, particularly in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Yes, but even if there are low-cost drones that are incoming, you need very sophisticated systems to take them down. And even if the debris falls on any civilian areas, on a car, for example, can cause injuries and even deaths. As tensions escalate in West Asia, 37 Indian-flagged ships carrying over 1,000 seafarers are stranded currently across the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. These are, of course, on 2 sides of the Strait of Hormuz. That's because that strait shipping route has been shut. Nobody really wants to venture out there because there have been attacks on vessels, even though Iran has been flip-flopping on whether it is actively blockading or not. This has, of course, disrupted one of the world's most critical oil transit corridors. 2 Indians, remember, have already been killed in an attack on one oil tanker, Skylight, in the Gulf of Oman amidst these escalating tensions. The 2 have been identified as Captain Ashish Kumar from Bihar and crew member Dalip Singh from Rajasthan. Meanwhile, the Indian National Ship Owners Association has urged the government to help secure safe passages for these vessels, noting that some ships are waiting to load while others are already carrying cargo on both sides of the trade. And remember, these are predominantly oil tankers. They're as flammable as it gets. We're also getting some more breaking updates now coming in. Indian government sources are indicating that India is in a comfortable position with 25 days of crude oil reserves, 25 days of energy products also available. They also say they are in touch with all major suppliers of LPG, LNG that are in touch with OPEC. There is no worry of price rise. Importantly, that the government is assuring its citizens the price, they say, should stabilize from 82 to 85. The present situation will not have an impact on consumer price to begin with. Remember, it is the oil companies that decide when they want to increase the prices, when they want to decrease the prices. Often it is done by the oil companies themselves. This is not part of any other government action when it comes to consumer goods. So the government seemingly very, very confident, one, that the reserves will hold on, and secondly, that there will not be inflationary causes as far as this oil surge, price surge is concerned, because oil companies control the consumer price of these goods in India. We're also expecting, of course, that we might have a more detailed plan as far as the Indian government is concerned of what are the alternatives that they may be looking at. Even as all of this is playing out, we also have a situation where the question of Russian oil has become very important. You would remember how much pressure was put on Russia to not buy Russian energy and especially crude oil. What happens now? Because India has always said, even under enormous pressure from US in context of a deal or no deal, that India will prioritize whatever is the best available options for it. So if prices were to go up otherwise from the Gulf, if supply was to be cut off from the Gulf, would India then dare to venture into buying more Russian product? That remains to be a big question to be seen. All right, Foreign Secretary, Indian Foreign Secretary has signed a condolence book at the Iranian embassy. This is Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri who has signed a condolence book at the Iranian embassy, which means this would be officially India's first expression of regret, India's first expression of condolences on the killing and the assassination of Iran's former supreme leader Ali Khamenei. These are those visuals also that are coming in on your screen. Remember, there are, of course, eulogies being given to the former Iranian supreme leader, also on Indian soil, but also on Iranian soil. My colleague Akansha is also joining.
This is big breaking news. This is the first time India has condoled the death of, the killing rather, of the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Those visuals, in fact, coming in of Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. He's signing that book where he is condoling the death, the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now remember, this is extremely significant, not just according to the domestic current geopolitical climate as well. There were a lot of attacks coming in from the opposition in terms of why India, which has been a time-tested ally to Iran, we have civilizational ties with Tehran, we've in fact stood by Iran, and yet why was India maintaining a quiet stance? But now that should be in fact putting an end to all of those wagging tongues as you see those visuals.
No, but I want to understand from you, signing a condolence book at the Iranian embassy versus an official statement from the government. How is this to be seen? Is this seen as an official government statement as well? My colleague Siddhant is also joining us with more on this. Siddhant, what more can you tell us? This is the official signing of the condolence book at the Iranian embassy. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri there.
Well, yes, that's right, Shivani. So a very significant gesture being shown by the Indian side. In fact, just a short while back, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was at the Iranian embassy in New Delhi to sign the condolence book. This today, in fact, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran is also in India. In fact, he will also be holding session tomorrow at the Raisina dialogue. Foreign Secretary also met Iranian envoy, expressed condolence on the behalf of the Indian government. This is what we have been told. So this is the second official communication between the two governments after the conflict. The first one was the conversation between EM S. Jaishankar and Foreign Minister Arakshi. And this is the second time when before the media cameras, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is meeting Iranian envoy in New Delhi, perhaps on the occasion of signing of the condolence book. So all eyes were on at Iran embassy since morning, whether somebody from the Indian government will be signing the book or not, given.
If you want to look at this, this is India walking that tightrope, isn't it? As far as standing with Iran is concerned as well, doing the diplomatic niceties, but also there was no statement from the Indian government to particularly condole or condemn Ali Khamenei's assassination. So how do you read into this before I go back to my colleague Akansha as well?
Well, many say that India has chosen its side, but also the fact is that that India has expressed concerns over the strikes being conducted in Iran. In fact, India has also spoken about sovereignty, violation of sovereignty. So if this line is being used in India's official statement, perhaps this line is for Iran. So to say this, that India has chosen sides, perhaps is not right. Also, a very last point, Shivani, before I toss back to you. Now, more than 1 crore Indians live in the Gulf countries. Their safety is also important for India.
Yes,
perhaps
absolutely.
this was the reason that Prime Minister Modi spoke to
most of these Gulf
countries.
No, I understand that. But, there is a diplomatic tightrope to be watched, if not sides to be chosen. Akansha also continues to be with us. Sanjay K. Verma, senior former diplomat, is with us. Lieutenant General K.J. Singh as well. Sanjay Verma, your thoughts on this? You're a former diplomat. You would understand this exactly. Can you put this into perspective for us? What does it mean signing a condolence book versus an official statement? Will this, whatever he's written, we'll try and see what he's written. We'll try and get those details. Would that count as the official position of the Indian government then?
Yes, it will be. And it's a visual which everyone is able to see. India expressing condolence through Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri on this occasion. So it's a head of state who was recognized by India has been killed, and therefore this condolence is in order. As far as the official statement from India that we are talking about, this is as official as it can get. The Foreign Secretary of India signing a condolence book.
Okay, Akansha, your thoughts on this?
Right. So, first of all, let's remind our viewers there were a host of geopolitical reasons and factors that were behind India's silence so far. You, of course, had Prime Minister Modi returning fresh from the visit to Israel. Israel, of course, in the last decade has become a time-tested ally to us because they've also borne the brunt of terrorism. And India has made it amply clear that they will not be standing by any country which is going to prove to be a safe haven for terrorist infrastructure. But having said that, you also have India renewing its ties with other Gulf nations, particularly UAE and even Saudi Arabia. At the same time, the United States is playing a key role over here. We are right, at that point where we are going to finalize that key bilateral trade agreement with the United States. So a host of factors were in fact influencing India.
India has managed this very, very well.
That point over here. Now that Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, has signed that condolence book, will this be seen as India's strategic silence? I don't think it should be. Perhaps India was also weighing in on this on its options.
That's what I want to understand from Sanjay Verma. You know, this is the right way of doing things, or India utilizing the right avenues to do and say the right things. There was an opportunity available to sign the condolence book. You know, this is possibly the best way that India could have condoled the former supreme leader's death or killing, and in a way play its part without alienating either Iran or Israel and America here, because they can't hold it against India if India was to sign a condolence book in the Iranian embassy in New Delhi.
Absolutely. So how it works, I'll just tell you the diplomatic thing in this.
Yeah.
The headquarters, in this case, Tehran, would have told all its embassies all over the world to open a condolence book. And once the condolence book is opened, which may not be even the next day of the killing, once it is open, only then it is available for signing. So I believe Vikram would have taken the very first day to sign this condolence book, which was available for him to sign. And this is very official, very, very official. Foreign Secretary of a country signing the condolence book.
So can you think of any precedents of when India has done this in the past, for example, as far as signing a condolence book in New Delhi, in an embassy headquarters in New Delhi is concerned? Anything comes to mind?
Every time a head of state or even head of government dies or is killed and condolence book is open, India will always go and sign that condolence book. We are very strong at the diplomatique and will continue doing that.
Well, a good opportunity that has been taken from India to also say that we do stand with Iran as far as the death or the killing is concerned. Lieutenant General KJ Singh is also with us, former army commander. Sir, how do you look at India managing both sides here, a diplomatic tightrope, because a lot of questions were mounting why there was no condolence for Khamenei so far?
Shivani and Akansha, the situation is very delicate, and there is a fog of war. And like our diplomatic colleague has explained, 3-day official mourning started maybe today, and they've opened the condolence book. So at the earliest opportunity, we've done the correct and appropriate thing, and we do it every time there is an officially recognized country's head of state, who's killed or who dies due to any reasons. We do. That's part of our culture. Now, as regard, there are some statements, some manipulated kind of egging on that India should make statement, India should condemn. See, that's not done in my perception, because nobody is still very clear about this war. What are the aims of this war? How did it start? Because in last 3-4 days, we were earlier told Israel started the war and USA joined in. Initially, we were told The aim was regime change.
Right. No, sir, I'll come back to you. Why the war and what the reasons? I'll come back to that. I want to go back across to my colleague Siddhant also joining us. Siddhant, any indications we are learning of what has been written? Presumably, the Indian government will release that.
Well, that's right, Shivani. We are waiting for the picture of that condolence book. In fact, we could expect the Iran embassy to be officially releasing the message of India's foreign secretary. But the point, Shivani, which I was making last time was that it was said that Prime Minister Modi has chosen sides. India has chosen sides after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel. Now, Prime Minister's visit to Israel was being planned from a very long time. And after 2 days, Israel and American forces is striking Iran. Perhaps people are linking it with his visit that this was not a right time. But you tell me, Shivani, what had been the right time? Israel is in war from last 2 years.
Yes.
So saying that India has chosen sides is not fair. Point number one. Point number two. As far as condemnation of Iranian strikes on the Gulf countries is concerned, Prime Minister Modi condemned, Foreign Minister condemned. The reason is
Siddhant, I'm losing your audio. I'm going to come back to you. Sanjay Verma, can I ask you exactly what is the kind of message that is usually written in such situations? Could you give us a sense of what is the diplomatic language used?
So basically, he will express his condolences on behalf of the government and people of India, and wherein he will also mention the contribution of the leader for whom he is writing the condolence and the relationship between the two countries. This is the usual format. The words could differ, the sentiments could differ, but this is the general format in which such condolence messages are written.
Well, because we're showing you these pictures and there is so much interest in what the Indian government could have written, it becomes very important. I think each word is going to be weighed in, isn't it, Akansha? Every word that the Indian Foreign Secretary would have written in his condolence would be read into threadbare.
Absolutely, and perhaps Lieutenant General K.J. Dhillon could also weigh in on whether no statement will suffice, and in fact, how is this going to be viewed? It's interesting.
All right. Sorry, Akansha, I have to interrupt you there. Iran envoy Mohammad Fatali has spoken to Network 18. Let's listen in.
What is your appeal to global community in the middle of this war?
Yes, you know that we are mourning, because we have lost a great figure and great personality. And you know that His Eminence was our leader and our marja. And I want to say that our father. And we believe that His Eminence always advise us, you try your best for stand on the right side of history. And I believe that His Eminence stood on the right side of history and received his reward from Almighty Allah. And now we announce that we respond strongly, firmly, this assassination. And unfortunately, the United States and the Zionist regime wants to disturb and destroy all the international law and international norms. And you know that we announced that we as Iran, due to our capability and capacity, we are ready for negotiation and peace and war. But we prefer the peace. But we are ready, fully ready and completely ready for the war. This is our stance. Now they started the war and we decided to end of the war, the duration of the war.
What is your expectation from Indian government?
You know that we have a good relation with the Indian government. We are expected from our brothers to stand in these situations and we are expected to all countries that because these situation and these circumstances needs to interfere all the person that fight for freedom to shows his role, to shows his stance, to shows his reaction to these hostile action. And you know that Iran demonstrated its sincerity, and they unfortunately shows open hostility. But I think that we as Iran, we will prevail with the help of Almighty Allah.
Excellency, but Gulf countries are blaming Iran to escalate this war. What is your comment?
We don't want to escalate. They knows very well. And we have a good relation with our neighbors, particularly in Persian Gulfs. But we announced that we attack to the bases of United States.
My final question to you, sir. What will be the way out to finally end this war?
I think that I believe that this is the war of will, battle of will. The result for the side of who have capability.
Let's also go across to Managing Editor Rahul Shivshankar now joining us. Rahul, interesting turn of events. So many questions were mounting on the Indian government, and here you have the Foreign Secretary signing the condolence book. It may be just diplomatique, but it's important.
Well, you know, there are 2 or 3 ways of looking at this. Obviously, India has signed this condolence book because we know that the mourning period for Mr. Khamenei has kicked off, and that has happened following an announcement in Iran. So from today, for the next 3 days, we are told that that mourning period is going to unfold, and a book was kept, a commiserations book, so to speak, was kept at the Iranian embassy here in New Delhi. And you saw our Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri going there and signing that book, and he's gone on to say that India condoles the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. Now, if you remember, all of this is, of course, happening in the backdrop of huge political controversy that is brewing in the country over India's stand on this entire episode that is unfolded from Saturday, where in one fell swoop, so to speak, the entire top brass, including Ayatollah Khamenei, of the Iranian regime was wiped out by what was estimated to be between 25 to about 30 JDAMs that were, as you know, fired upon the headquarters of the regime in Tehran. Now, we were told that Khamenei and others had sort of vacated that, but turned out that they hadn't. They were somehow still there. Why they were there, of course, is only known to the Iranian regime. Did they not expect a U.S. and Iran joint attack so soon? We don't know. We can only speculate what went wrong there. The U.S. says that they got actionable intelligence from the Israelis, and they were given to believe that there was an attack that was going to be planned on Israel. So Israel gave them, or they gave the Israelis. Again, that sequence is also very confused. Right. And they said that somehow they got to know between the two of them that Khamenei was there, and they carried out that decapitation strike, and that was the end of that. But after that, questions were being asked worldwide on the legality of the action. Now, there was a furious debate that has been raging. India has finally come out and has signed this condolence book because it was accused of not taking a principled and moral stand. I'll come to that. You might even have a question. Yeah. But just want to quickly say that perhaps this is an indication that there is a degree of South-South solidarity that is still alive. Now, remember what happened yesterday. We got information that an Iranian frigate that had taken part in a very crucial exercise organized by New Delhi, rather by India, was suddenly sunk by a submarine deployed by the United States off the coast of Sri Lanka, out of the territorial waters of Sri Lanka, but close also to, of course, the Indian coast. And that created a frisson of its own, because many people said, is the United States meddling in India's backwaters, in India's sphere of influence? And that was the debate that has raged. And of course, the Congress party and others have attacked the government for not actually securing India's sovereignty by either reacting to that. Is it that the Indians are expressing their disapproval by going and now signing that book of condolences? In other words, taking a position that, look, they valued this life and they think that this life should not have been lost. So perhaps this is that, or they're just being empathetic.
Yeah.
Humanist. Someone has died, he's the leader of a state, and the least you could do as a state with ties, both civilization and diplomatic, with Iran, come out there and sign that book. So we don't know the motivations, but suddenly it has come as a shot pretty much from the blue.
Yeah, but the politics of it, Rahul, you've been tracking this. The government has to do what is the right thing. Maybe they followed procedures, whatever is the diplomatic courtesies here. But the BJP has been going hammer and tongs, kind of, hailing Indian government's position of not condoling Khamenei's death. I'm reading Dr. Nishikant Dubey's BJP MP's tweet, where he has said he is reminding the world that Iran had given money, aircraft, weapons to Pakistan in 65 and 71. Another BJP leader reminding the public that Khamenei was a dictator. So how will the BJP now reconcile that stand versus what the government is doing now?
Yeah, so let me just put it in perspective. An article appeared. First, the Congress launched an attack on the government for not condemning the killing of Khamenei and also the invasion. They said that silence was not neutrality, it was abdication. Abdication of what? A moral responsibility to call out what they believed was an act that even the Indian Constitution doesn't recognize or declares inviolable in law, which is that a sovereign state leadership is attacked by another state without apparent provocation. That is what the Congress said. The Congress then followed it up when Sonia Gandhi wrote an editorial for various newspapers precisely with this headline, saying that your failure to condemn, your silence is actually not neutrality, it is moral abdication. And within minutes of that article appearing in the newspapers, the BJP went to town. You had various spokespeople of the BJP. You had also MPs from the BJP. You had a BJP Karnataka leader like R. Ashok. You referred to Nishikant Dubey, who is a vociferous defender of the government and one of the frontline spokespersons of the government, even in the Lok Sabha during debates and so on and so forth. And he talked about 65 and 71. We're talking about BJP Karnataka leader R. Ashok, who is now talking in much more contemporary terms. And he says, quote, Khamenei was a dictator. There was internal rebellion against him. Atrocities were committed against women there, implying misogyny. Thousands of people were shot dead, implying that he was actually carrying out a genocide of its own people. Despite many places in India, including Bengaluru, Muslims have protested in favor of Khamenei. Ashoka said at a press conference in Bengaluru on Monday. So as I said, on the day of that article, all of this came out. He urged that action should be taken against those who took the law into their hands, adding that India maintains cordial ties with Israel by pursuing a balanced foreign policy. India is not against any country. My opinion is that there should be no war. The central government has never supported war, which is also the Indian government stand that we want, of course, at some level or the other, peace to return, and we are willing to play our part in ensuring that the two sides come back to the dialogue table. But fundamentally, you have a situation where the BJP is going to be called out for attacking the Congress, and the Congress is probably going to jump at this and is going to attack. Because they're going to say that, look, when we pointed this out and we pointed out the delay, you were defending the fact that you were dealing. So this is going to be playing out politically. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. We also have to wait and watch, as my colleague Pallavi is pointing out, for all of their bluster. Is the Congress, as the leading opposition, or other members of the opposition, sending anybody to the Iran embassy so that they can also register their
sources is that this demonstrates a graded response. It would be wrong to suggest that or frame this in the binaries that certain political parties might be wanting to frame this in, and that official participation is not a political response. Private message is not a public message. So that is what the government sources are suggesting here. So quite clearly, you have a situation where the government is trying to suggest that we cannot look at this from a political lens, because what the government does is not a political lens. It has a longer view of issues and so on and so forth. So already you can see that the government is responding to what people are saying, or perhaps to those that might be in some sense coming out and saying that there is some disconnect between the position of the party and the position of the government.
Yeah. Well, government basically indicating there, Rahul, that this is not a rollback on what they had decided or said or not said earlier. This is just following of procedures and diplomatic courtesies. As our diplomatic guest was also telling us earlier, this is routine. Any time a head of state dies, passes away, or in this case is killed. We'll keep a very strong focus on this. More political reactions expected. Time for a very short break.
Man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks long research and digging through the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
2 missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Noor Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Murid area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
That is one of the most amazing It is one of the most amazing things about this. When one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians, like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nur Khan. So, and that at the time, the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims, whatever was its claiming, for example, Air Vice Marshal Ahmad during his famous press conference, he was claiming about how Pakistani Air Force moved in, and there was a huge air battle, and they were breaking Indian bones.
There was a dogfight and all of that.
The biggest dogfight of all the times and whatever else. Nothing of that kind has happened. Indian Air Force has hit its targets and flew away. That's it.
That's it. So there was no, because there was also that, was there a PAF interception that happened? Because they said that there was an interceptor that was fired. What was fired by the Pakistanis? What was the PL-15s?
It is possible that one of the Pakistani J-10s has fired a single PL-15 at one of involved the Indian aircraft, but this missile has crashed, hit the ground inside India. That's it. Not one Indian aircraft was shot down by them.
Not one Indian aircraft was shot down. Let's sit back, because what the narrative was that, and they say that this PL-15 actually fell down near Pandhar in Gurdaspur. The impact was 30 kilometers inside Bharat, and the Army Air Defense actually reacted first. But my question to you is, in that 1 hour, there was a lot of speculation that was made, Tom. And what have you found in the book? If you look at it, you say the spark. You've given a background to why India did it. When you did the, the jihad import-export, that's the page that I've just opened. So let's understand this. Were you convinced as a military historian that Bharat was right in conducting operations in Doha?
For a simple reason that Pakistan is, as we said, we have written jihad import-export. It is organizing, training, supporting, commanding jihadists for 50 years, constantly searching for new ways to organize new organizations or new groups, to find them. And this is nothing new in that sense. It might be new for somebody in the United States or Europe, but it is not new for India. It is even less so new for Pakistanis. They are even denying it sometimes, that they are doing anything. On the other hand, they have chiefs of their top political parties openly declaring their political parties as fronts of this jihadist movements.
Right.
So therefore, and that's what I pointed out, even 9/11 in the United States was original mastermind came from Pakistan. And he was trained by inter-service intelligence and later on arrested in Pakistan and jailed in the United States. So therefore, it is really Pakistan which is a center of well, international jihadism.
Right. And you've also listed the kind of organizations where the ISI instigated over 12,000 attacks, all undertaken by organizations like the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Hizbul Mujahideen.
Yeah, we went through the records and counted over, so this is since the year 2001, over 12,000 terrorist attacks inside India.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more updates coming in. UAE has now announced an early spring break for schools and universities from March 9. Remember, UAE, one of those countries that has received the largest barrage of Iranian drones and missiles, along with Saudi Arabia, but certainly UAE has received hundreds more than any other country. In fact, there's a comparison between how many UAE has had to fend off versus even Israel, and UAE has had more. So they've had to announce an early spring break now.
Absolutely. And we all know that this is a very critical time, given the examinations of the schools have been going on, even in colleges. And so for them to have announced this kind of a shutdown from 9th of March is almost unprecedented. But that is, when the going gets tough, tough get going. And that is exactly what UAE also has to do right now. As we said, that in the last 48 hours, we had seen that there was a calming of tensions. But from today, in fact, from last night, we've seen again there is a revival of tensions as far as Abu Dhabi and Dubai both are concerned. We also broke the news earlier of how there were several people, in fact 6 individuals who had been severely, gravely injured in Abu Dhabi. We'll have to see how these tensions are now in fact de-escalated. That should be the priority for the US allies.
Yes, we've got more breaking updates coming in. Iran is certainly not sitting quietly. Now the Iranians are telling us that they have attacked the Ben Gurion airport in Israel. That's of course one of the key airports in Israel. That airport has now been attacked, Israel's Ben Gurion airport. This is the one that the Prime Minister used just a few days ago.
And we'll have to see, we are waiting more visuals to come in terms of to be able to assess the impact of that damage. But it's an international airport. It's one of the leading ones, Ben Gurion Airport. This is where all the dignitaries, as Shivani was highlighting, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, also was given a red carpet welcome, where Prime Minister Netanyahu, accompanied by his wife Sarah Netanyahu, were there just days ago receiving the Prime Minister. And you have the Iranians now attacking this very airport. Let's quickly bring back the attention onto how airports are particularly being targeted, whether it is not just now in Iran. You've seen the case in Azerbaijan, even in Dubai, other locations as well. There's a conscious effort to in fact disrupt global world travel at the moment.
Yes, including flights certainly. We've got a CNN report coming in from Iran. Let's take a look.
We just crossed the border and are now inside of Iran. The Iranian government has granted us a visa to come here and to report from the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're now trying to make our way to the capital, Tehran, as fast as possible. But of course, the distances in this huge country are immense, and we know it's going to take many, many hours for us to get there. We also don't know what the situation on the road to Tehran is going to look like, how many checkpoints there's going to be. And of course, we know at the same time there are massive combat operations also going on. The United States and Israel are continuing their huge aerial campaign against targets inside of Iran. At the same time, the Iranians continue to retaliate, not just with their ballistic missiles, but with their drones, mostly hitting Israel, but then also American military installations, especially in the Gulf region, but in general in the Middle East. In total, the Iranians are saying that they can continue this campaign for a very long time. They say that their missile arsenal is still immense, and they haven't even used some of their most modern missiles. But we also, of course, know that the place that we aim to go to, Tehran, has been under almost sustained attacks with massive airstrikes going on there and also huge damage being caused, and of course, many people also having been harmed.
Man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks long research and digging to the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj, and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India. This is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
Missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Noor Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
That is
Sam,
one of the
that's
most
what you're
amazing.
saying.
It is one of the most amazing thing about this. The one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians, like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Noor Khan. So, and that at the time, the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims, whatever was it's claiming, for example, Air Vice Marshal Ahmad during his famous press conference, he was claiming about how Pakistani Air Force moved in, and there was a huge air battle, and they were breaking Indian bones.
There was a dogfight and all of that.
The biggest dogfight of all the times and whatever else. Nothing of that kind has happened. Indian Air Force has hit its targets and flew away. That's it.
That's it. So there was no, because there was also that, was there a PAF interception that happened? Because they said that there was an interceptor that was fired. What was fired by the Pakistanis?
It is
what
possible,
was the PL-15s?
It is possible that one of the Pakistani J-10s has fired a single PL-15 at one of involved the Indian aircraft, but this missile has crashed, hit the ground inside India. That's it. Not one Indian aircraft was shot down by them.
Not one Indian aircraft was shot down. Let's sit back, because what the narrative was that, and they say that this PL-15 actually fell down near Pandhar in Gurdaspur. The impact was 30 kilometers inside Bharat, and the Army Air Defense actually reacted first. But my question to you is, in that 1 hour, there was a lot of speculation that was made, Tom. And what have you found in the book? If you look at it, you say the spark. You've given a background to why India did it. When you did the, the jihad import-export, that's the page that I've just opened. So let's understand this. Were you convinced as a military historian that Bharat was right in conducting operations in Doha?
For a simple reason that Pakistan is, as we said, we have written jihad import-export. It is organizing, training, supporting, commanding jihadists for 50 years, constantly searching for new ways to organize new organizations or new groups, to find them. And this is nothing new in that sense. It might be new for somebody in the United States or Europe, but it is not new for India. It is even less so new for Pakistanis. They are even denying it sometimes, that they are doing anything. On the other hand, they have chiefs of their top political parties openly declaring their political parties as fronts of this jihadist movements.
Right.
So therefore, and that's what I pointed out, even 9/11 in the United States was original mastermind came from Pakistan. and he was trained by inter-service intelligence and later on arrested in Pakistan and jailed in the United States. So therefore it is really
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another edition of Take 3 XL, because along with Zaka Jacob, Rahul Shivshankar, we also have Tom Cooper with us, and let's try and understand where this war is going, what direction it is taking. Tom, we were asking where are the ballistic missiles from the Iranians? They've just attacked Ben Gurion Airport. How do you see this panning out? Do the Iranians have far more than what has been estimated?
They are definitely continuing to wage their guerrilla missile war. That means they are using what they can. They can't use too much without exposing themselves to strikes. They are also hindered by, I guess, that the Americans and Israelis are striking entrances to their underground missile cities. The Americans and Israelis are trying to knock out these missile cities. They are suppressing a lot, but in turn they are also losing aircraft because Iranians are maneuvering their air defenses around and hiding them, then suddenly appearing at unexpected positions. So it is moving in direction as expected right now.
Because the Iranians have come out and said we are ready to shut down our nuclear program if you give us an alternative. Now, if you're going to make something like that, that means you've suffered heavy losses. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, probably, I would say yes. On the other hand, it's abandoning their sovereignty because they have repeatedly declared it is a part of their sovereignty. So why now do that? I don't know.
Does that not show that the Americans are really making inroads now? Or would you say that we're still too far away from calling this?
Well, it's not getting over.
No.
Certainly not in the next few weeks. But I think we can now sort of safely predict the direction in which this war is going. As Tom said, this is a war of attrition, right? There's a limited number of missiles and even drones, frankly, that Iran has. And they're going to expand, not all of it, but most of it, because it's a battle for survival. Their game plan was very clear. Draw in the entire region, attack Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, because, you know, if it's just Iran versus America and Israel, Iran will be a goner.
Yeah.
The only way they can make sure that this entire thing, works out in their favor is by unleveling the playing field. Right now, if it's just America, Israel and Iran, the playing field is skewed entirely against Iran. The only way they can, hope to have some kind of an upper hand is, as Tom has been saying, go guerrilla, which is what they've done, and two, drag the entire region down. I suspect at some point this will also get into a ground sort of combat, not with American boots. I'm very clear. I don't think Trump will risk that ever, especially after what happened in Iraq with George Bush. I don't think any American president will risk American boots on the ground. I think what Trump is trying to do is instigate the Kurds, the Iraqi Kurds, the Iranian Kurds, and we know that there is this whole unfinished project of Kurdistan. It had a role in Iraq as well. What did they do in Iraq? I mean, they basically got the Ba'athist, they got Saddam Hussein, and they put whoever they could find in power, and then left that country to a bloody insurgency for the next 20 years. I think Iran is moving in that direction in the long term.
Yeah, somewhere there are also experts who believe they'll carve out an Azerbaijan and get the Azerbaijanis and the Bazeris to come there. They will try and make Iran smaller. So they carves out a Kurdistan, and then there is always flux, while there is perhaps a more, but that's going to take time, Rahul, and that means it's going to hurt us. Well, and let's come back to the India story here. We are saying strategic autonomy, but hey, no LNG, no energy. Our rates are going to go, it's going to create a huge domestic issue here for us very soon.
Yeah, so just to take it in a couple of steps, just to go back to the original question that you posed, what's Iran's game plan? Because it already depends on how quickly Iran folds, if it does at all. Now, I have my view on this, and I've sort of put out a tweet which has got some traction on it. Looking at all this footage that was coming out overnight of these constant missile launches that Iran TV and Tehran Times keep putting out footage of. And I'm like wondering what is going on. how is it that if the Israelis and the U.S. claim that they have total domination and they can, even the moment a missile approaches on the radar, it's taken out, even if a launcher sort of manages to get out of its silo or whatever it is, bunker, shankar, whatever they call it, and it comes out, we knock it out. So how is it that the Iranians, and you just pointed out to this Ben Gurion conversation that is happening, we're still awaiting actually details, so I'm not going to jump on that, but I think you have to understand that the entire defense program of the Iranian regime, in the absence of a credible nuclear deterrent, was based on survival, on how to ensure that it could actually last. So all its capacities, it's called these missile underground cities.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what they've built. These massive silos which go underground, a Warren labyrinth of tunnels where all these drones are stocked, and you sometimes see visuals that they put out, to sort of jimmy up their own morale from time to time. So all of it is there. All they need to do from time to time is to take one out and hope that it goes across and creates enough of a buzz. It sounds like a mosquito in any case, so it carries a bit of dread. If you've heard those kamikaze drones, it just does that, and everyone sort of freezes until they have a chokehold. And I said this yesterday, over the Strait of Hormuz, or they can ensure that nothing moves. They have leverage. I feel that this will be decided really in that strait. The moment Iran doesn't have the ability to threaten cargo, trade, money in one sense, from moving, I think they lose leverage. How will they bring the Chinese, how will they agitate them enough if the Chinese suddenly get... And you're talking about India, I think we should go back to getting Russian oil. I don't see why we should be sitting on formalities now. I memean, everything goes out, force majeure is in. And we should...
What happens is every nation today, Vladimir Putin was on record, he was saying it in jest,